Hi, my name's Javier, and today I'm going to be talking about Jacques-Louis David and his influence on art and the French Revolution. David grew up learning the Rococo style, but as time went on, he decided to instead paint in a more Greek style that was similar to the High Renaissance of the 1500s. He spearheaded the neoclassical era and is the most renowned painter for that time, but he didn't just help pioneer the art style, he also played a critical role in the French Revolution. He was close friends with many of its leaders, such as influential writer and newspaper journalist Jean-Paul Marat, as well as lawyer and Jacobin leader Maximilien Robespierre, who was the main voice of the revolution. But unfortunately, in revolutions, many deaths occur, and in 1793, David created possibly one of his most emotional paintings. He created the death of Marat, in which he painted the scene where his dear friend was stabbed in his bathtub while he was in the middle of his work. Marat had to take occasional baths because he developed a skin rash one day from hiding in the sewers of Paris, trying not to get arrested by officials. He was a vital figure in the revolution because he was the head writer and created articles so that the citizens could get informed about what was happening with the government. And one day in 1793, in the middle of the day, while he was taking his occasional medicinal bath, a woman named Charlotte Corday, who was from a separate political party, convinced him to have a meeting because she said she had a list of enemies that he should write about in his article. But when the moment came, she instead stabbed him once in his chest, killing him, and we can see in the painting that the knife is still there, covered in blood, along with the sheets. Meanwhile, right next to the knife is a pen which Marat is still holding and can be interpreted as a callback to the saying that a pen is mightier than the sword. Marat's death ended up making him become a martyr, which only increased the people's support towards the revolution, and even a few days later, Charlotte was captured and killed by guillotine for her crime. David, I believe, was incredibly angry when this happened and didn't want Marat's passing to be in vain, so he decided on making the painting to be copied onto flyers, so that supporters of the revolution could see that what the opposing side was willing to do in order to stop the revolution from continuing. He made his close friend look incredibly holy in the painting and even made him look similar to Jesus from Michelangelo's Pieta. David also wrote year 2 below his signature to signify that it was barely the second year of the revolution and to secularize French life from the church. And finally, the light hitting Marat's body is a symbol of divine light and tries to signify that he was indeed holy and is on his way to heaven. But as the years of fighting went on, David was called to help many times with events such as holding meetings and giving input to who should be put on the guillotine. David was found eventually and taken to prison, but was later freed in 1795, and he began working incredibly hard to restore his reputation, which caught the eye of Napoleon so much so that he asked David to paint the famous portrait Napoleon crossing St. Bernard in 1800. And when Napoleon decided to crown himself the new Emperor of France, he asked David to be the first painter of the empire and commissioned him to do many paintings, such as the coronation of Napoleon in 1804, which included many influential people such as the Pope. It took David 3 years to finish painting because of its ridiculously large scale and consideration to detail. The size of the canvas is 20 by 32 feet, which is enormous even by today's standards, so it makes sense why it took him so long. The pomp and extravagance shown in the picture shows how Napoleon thought highly of himself, and even when the Pope was about to crown him, he snatched it out of his hand and placed it on top of his head instead, humiliating the Pope in front of everyone. There were around 200 people total in the picture, and each person had to be drawn correctly, since all the patrons were nobles and clergymen who expected nothing but the best from the infamous painter. But as time went on, Napoleon ended up being overthrown and killed, which then reinstated the monarchy that David previously overthrew. And they didn't hold any bad feelings towards David, so they said he could stay, but he instead exiled himself to Brussels, where he began painting a more Greek style similar to his earlier work. David was a man whose loyalties we don't know can be completely trusted, but his influence and skill in the neoclassical era speaks for itself. He created many masterpieces which continue to be spoken about today and will forever be highly regarded in the art world. We can only imagine what kind of paintings he would have created if his revolution was successful.